All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, everybody, wherever in the world you are. I'm Marky Dragon, and today we've got something special going on. We are actually in Legends of Aria on the Legends of Ultima server, and here with a special guest, Stimwalt. And we're going to take a little tour in the game, go check out some stuff, and see why you should be playing on the Legends of Ultima server, which is a community-run server.
Yes.
Hello, Stimwalt.
Hey, Marky, how you doing? Thank you for coming and joining our server.
Yeah.
How you doing?
So I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Hope
Great.
you are too.
Doing excellent.
So first off, okay, we need two things. One is we need to know like just a little bit about you, like who are you
Sure.
and how are you relevant to Legends of Ultima, and then for those of the my viewers who have never seen Legends of Aria and Legends of Ultima before, tell them why it's here, why it exists, etc.
Sure. So I'll start with a little bit about me. I'm a software developer. I've been in software development for about 15 years. Recently went into cybersecurity, but I've always had a passion for video games. And the one game that really just sort of floored me, and I've been chasing that dragon ever since I played it when I was 15 years old, was Ultima Online. Pretty much my whole life, from adolescent to adult life, I've been looking for that game that replicates the magic of Ultima Online. And I tried all these different
So
games.
is that like the magic of first girlfriend? And then have you and is Legends of Ultima your replication of that?
Yeah, so, sort of. I mean, honestly, to an extent, yeah, I could see some parallels there. Living
Sorry,
in
just
that.
that's just what came to mind.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely some nostalgia there. It impacted me greatly when I was 13, 14. And it was just a confluence of different things that just hit at the same time. A game that was online, a game that was multiplayer, a game that had really, really excellent graphics at the time, an
Hmm.
engine that you could interact with almost all of the physics in the world. I mean, it all happened in one game. So it was just really revolutionary. So anyway, obviously it had a big impact on me personally.
Right.
And I had always been involved in development, but I had never gone into game development. So one day I was out there and I was just Googling around and I was looking for Ultima Online Alternative or Ultima Online 2 or games like Ultima Online. And I found this tiny little game called Shards Online. I
Mm-hmm.
did some
Mm-hmm.
research and I found out that they rebranded into Legends of Aria. And I was just more and more interested in this game. Come to find out, it's a platform game. So what that means is it's primarily an engine, and you can mod on top of it to create your own worlds. If you wanted to create a Neverwinter Nights world or an Ultima type mod, or what have you, it offered that as a possibility. And so for me, that is what gripped me into the Legends of Aria game, was the platform, was the ability to mod it. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
Legends of Ultima is. It is an Ultima Online mod, and it's geared towards the classic eras of Ultima Online, pre-Trammel, where
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the guards are only in town, and
Right.
full loot sandbox,
Where there was risk.
where there was risk and there was reward.
Yeah.
So we do have similar things, in terms of punishment for reds. We try to follow the classic eras as close as we can, but we also sort of clean up the things that Marquis about, which were just clearly exploits and bugs in the beta version of Ultima Online.
Oh, we never had any of those.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe
So
you cleaned up the time warps too.
yes, so we've done a lot of things to. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get back the classic feel, right? We want the nostalgia, we want that risk and reward. We want to go into a dungeon and feel our blood pressure go up. You
Mm-hmm.
want that
Mm-hmm.
thrill that you had in the classic eras, but you don't want the horribly hacky ways to break into people's homes. Stealing house keys, changing the locks, and then that's your house, not their house anymore. So
Right,
things
right.
like that. We decided, listen, we're big on nostalgia, we're big on classic era, but we're not big on that. That's the part that we're not going to bring back. So I just wanted to touch on that briefly
That
because I'm
that
sure it's
sounds like some maturity in that statement.
we're a little older now. We can understand that, hey, stealing someone's house deed that they spent 4 months farming for, or changing someone's locks after you steal their key, it's not really
It's not
it's
fun.
not fun, and it's also what I like to call an uninstall mechanic. If it happens to someone, they uninstall the game and they leave, they never come back.
Yeah.
So I put a lot of things in that barrel, and we try to work through them. So
Yeah. So you're trying to replicate that Ultima Online feeling here.
exactly.
And I understand we've got a couple of dungeons we're going to be able to look at today.
Correct.
And then I'm gonna have to beg you for in the future that maybe we can get a peek at this new map you've been talking about,
Absolutely.
because you guys are trying to replicate Sosaria.
Everything.
Wow.
Everything. So we're not just going. One thing that I think a lot of people might think is that we're just building a one-to-one game, and that's really not all we're doing. We're going for Ultima Online 2 or Ultima Online Reborn. So we are sort of level setting back to the second age, the classic eras, in terms of our skills, our systems, our stats, things like that. But we're going to continue the storyline in a different way than the official game did. As you remember, or I may have mentioned it to you, we have some lore that will impact the opening of dungeons. It will impact our switch over to the UL map. We're drawing upon original Ultima Codex to drive this storyline on our server. So it's not like we just say, hey, everybody, a new dungeon is open tomorrow, we're going to restart the server. There's actually an event that takes place in the game with a character from Ultima, even before Ultima Online, who drives the event, who's the catalyst to that.
All
So
right.
so we're going into the future with this game. So it's kind of like we're going into the past and then we're going back into the future.
Right. Okay. So, well, let's head to one of the dungeons,
Yeah,
and we
let's
can
do that.
continue talking while we're looking at a dungeon. I have no idea where I'm going. Am I just
Uh,
following you?
yeah, so walk into the Moongate. You'll get a list of all the towns that are available, and you're going to click go when you get to Vesper. So just go ahead and jump to Vesper with me.
All right. Heading there.
And so we have Moongates, which, you notice. That's a very important part of UO, having Moongates. And Morians, the guy I was talking to you about earlier, the first necromancer from the original codex, he is the one that's actually exploiting the Moongate magic, and that's sort of what's driving the opening of these new dungeons and driving the whole storyline. Now let me just grab you here.
Okay.
All right, what we're about to see as we move up to the south here is the entrance to Wind. So just let me know once you're in. Looks like you're here.
Yep. I just needed some light.
Yep. Yeah, you need that torch.
Yep.
So
Oh, I got to turn off my auto zoom. Hold on.
sure.
Gosh, I hate that. It always turns back on too.
So this is a good spot to stop in. You'll notice there's some blood on the floor.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And which dungeon are we in?
We're not in the dungeon yet. We are at the
Okay.
entrance to Wind. And so let me explain the storyline so this makes more sense. You'll see there's blood on the floor. So about 3 months ago, Morians attacked the city of Vesper, and he brought a legion of Dark Ones with him. And they're effectively undead creatures that were casting spells. Everybody in the game fought back Morians back all the way to the entrance of Wind, where we all discovered that Morians actually had taken over Wind, had killed all the mages in Wind. Wind used to be a city filled with NPCs. He had killed all of them, and he had opened a dungeon Covetous, and the entire community just ran into the dungeon and went to the depths of the dungeon to try to defeat Morians, but they were unable and unsuccessful to do so. The blood that you see here is from that battle.
Okay.
And a lot of players died, and NPCs. We had the Britain military here as well. All these people died, and so we left the blood. So it's sort of a remembrance, or I guess evidence that this battle took place. So That's just a real quick description there. But if you come up here, you'll notice the entrance to wind. If you get close, you'll see it says you feel dark magic absorbing your moon magic.
Okay, yeah.
So this is coming into the storyline where Morians is exploiting the moon gates in the world. And if you remember from Ultima Online, the moons controlled whether moon gates opened at all or were functional. And Morians is exploiting it in order to open portals to new dungeons. And he's doing though for a very specific reason, which we'll see once we enter wind up here.
Okay.
So
Did you make me invulnerable, by the way?
I did, because this is a tour, right. Not a not a butcher.
Okay. No, that's good. That's
session.
good.
But yeah, because we wouldn't be able to. I couldn't show you everything if you were not invulnerable.
Right. Just remember to set it back when we're done, because I want the ability to die.
Oh, don't worry. I will definitely set it back. That's not something.
Okay.
But you'll notice that when we entered here, if you run up here and run back, you'll notice that there was a message that says you feel a strong dark force weakening your moon magic. Mm-hmm. So,
and what is my moon magic?
So your moon magic is basically what controls your travel. So recall, mark, moon gate from your spell book.
Okay.
He is exploiting moon magic in the entire world in order to open up these two gates, which are up here, one to Despise and one to Covetous. And you'll notice this trail of blood leading to a blood altar.
Yes.
And if you look at that book that's on the altar, if you hold down control, you'll see what's on the altar there.
All right.
So basically what Morians is doing is he's using the blood of the victims inside the dungeon to create new spells in necromancy. Necromancy on our server will be blood magic, effectively.
Okay.
And so his goal is to open up all of the classic UO dungeons, conveniently. And with each one that he opens, the spells in his spell book fill out more. And so once we've opened all the classic dungeons, necromancy will be born. The full spell book will exist, and then we'll have that pivotal, tipping point event with Morians. So that's my high level description of that. But basically, Morians is trying to build the necromancy in our world, and so that's why these dungeons are opening, and that's why, and so that's sort of the whole lore behind our server.
Okay.
So you want to jump into Covetous?
Sure.
And let me know if you have any questions about that, about the storyline. I can feel free.
There's a lot of people who appreciate storyline.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care much.
Oh,
I'm on the other end of the whole thing.
Gotcha.
But that's not to say that people don't want to know. And,
we have a lot of RPers.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm sure you remember Covetous.
Yeah, I don't remember being on fire in it, but okay. Yeah.
Well, when you enter Covetous, there were fire traps.
Oh yeah. God, it's been so long since I've been in UO. So I actually
this
got banned
dungeon,
in UO.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of us.
Kind of. I mean, I actually got all my accounts deleted by Rogue GM, so it wasn't really banned. Okay. It was somebody who didn't like me.
Gotcha. Was it OSI or was something else?
It was in 2010, so it was EA.
Oh, much later. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, if you remember, this is the Harpy Room. What we've done with our dungeon is we've done a complete one-to-one on how the dungeon looks, feels, everything about it, even the monsters. The biggest thing that we've changed is the loot. We've changed things in terms of how the dungeon's going to play. We've modernized it a little bit. But for those of your viewers that have played in dungeons a lot, especially Covetous, they'll recognize the Harpy Room almost immediately. And if we come up here, and we come over here, you'll notice we've got chests that you can lockpick, and that are typically trapped, and they have goodies inside of them. Each level of the dungeon will change the loot tables. Things get better because of risk and reward. And remember, Morian's, he's affecting everyone's moon magic, so you can't actually recall out of a dungeon once you go below level 2, because he's drawing upon that energy, that force.
Was that the way it was originally in UO as well?
No, in
Okay.
original UO, like we're talking like 1998, you could always recall out. And even at one period, you could recall in to any level of the
Hmm.
dungeon. But things have changed quite a lot, and we like our dungeon design to sort of matter. And what we noticed is when we did a 1-to-1 with UO and we let people recall in and recall
Yeah, they
out,
would just go in and farm a room and leave. Whatever.
basically basically the only levels that were used were the boss rooms, and the whole
Hmm.
point of dungeon design was just destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we decided, hey, you can recall at a level 1, but below that, you know, you're gonna you're gonna get nervous when you go below level 2, because you can't just, in 2 seconds escape. You have to
Hmm.
run out or fight your way out. So here's another fire trap.
Yep.
This is
I'm
a
on
dark
fire again.
sentinel. Yeah, this is a dark sentinel. This is one of our UO2, like I like to refer to it as UO2 guys. He will walk the entire length of this floor, of this level of the dungeon,
Hmm.
and he's a little beefier. He can catch stealthers, and he can see like a gazer. And he has unique loot. Just him specifically. He has a different loot table from all the other monsters.
All right.
And if
Now,
we come up
I
here,
want to I want to ask you something else here too.
go ahead.
There's a lot of work that has been put into this.
An
I mean,
enormous
like
amount of work.
I can tell you that from playing Legends of Aria and being here, that the differences are quite a few.
Oh
And
yes.
what kind of team is working on this?
So we have a team of about 15 people. It consists of developers, designers, artists, Unity developers, a PR specialist, marketing specialist, which Annie,
Hmm.
and we're all volunteer.
All right.
So we don't make any money. This is a nonprofit project, and we do have a Patreon, but it just keeps the servers online. It keeps the lights on. So
Hmm.
we're completely unpaid. It's a passion project.
So your best payment is your resume builder.
Well, see, I make really good money in my day job. I
Yeah.
don't need it through this game. This is more of a dream for us. We want to
Hmm.
play this game. We're making it, right? We're the
Hmm.
content creators, but we also want to play it.
Yeah.
And so, this is not an avenue for us to make money. This is an avenue for us to create something that has not been created yet, which
Hmm.
is Ultima Online and a modern engine,
Right.
sort of seen through the lens of people that played in 1996, 1997, and 1998.
And I do see in chat they're asking how does this copy UO without violating like copyright and stuff, and I don't think that there's any issues with that.
No, no.
Um,
I mean, I'm sure that they're familiar with folks like Private Charts, right? Who have
hmm.
been making a lot of money off of the actual Ultima Online game.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's not
And
even
well,
something
they
that
got
they.
they got written permission at one point to run those servers in many ways. So
Right, right.
there's precedence that you can copy all kinds of stuff from UO and not have any issue. So
Correct, correct. And also, we
yeah.
don't make any money, so we're even unlike them, because they
Hmm.
make a lot of money and we don't. We're
All right.
non-profit. So yeah. So if you're thinking of like Ultima Online Forever, Empor Yelm, some of those private shards, I think all those guys are profit. We're not. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, let's delve a little deeper here. I wanted
All
to show
right.
you one of our mini bosses and sort of explain how we've done something a little different here. All right, give me a second. Let's go a little deeper. There is a Gazer boss right here, and he has specific loot just to him. But I wanted to go a little deeper. Now you'll notice it says you have delved too deep, and your moon magic is no longer functional.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's to remind the player, hey, you've gone to level 2.
Okay.
you're no longer able to cast recall, because a lot of folks, as soon as they get what they need, I'm going to do a refresh real quick. I'm just going to refresh all of the mobs because I want to make sure you can see all of them. Basically, as soon as you've gone too deep in our dungeon, you need to be aware that you may run into some PKs. You may run into some players that are going to attack you for the loot that's on you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've added something additional to the game called an imbued rune. And what it lets you do is it lets you escape a dungeon, but it's a very specific item that you have to craft from a scribe. And it
Okay.
lets you escape. But general recall, you can't do in our dungeon after level 2. So, the intention there is once people get to level 2 and level 3, they're a little more concerned, a little more paranoid about fighting monsters this deep, because some PKs could just run in and sort of ruin their day.
Mm-hmm. That happens, especially to someone who's streaming.
Oh yeah, all the time. Okay, and so this is the Stone Harpy room. It's another room where you would have a boss that spawns, and we have our bosses spawn every 1 to 2 days. You'll see here's the Harpy Matriarch. Do you see it?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so the Harpy Matriarch is scaled to level 2. So it's got level 2 level loot tables, I would say. And so there's a reason to come to level 2. There's a reason to farm the Harpy Matriarch because she has things that no one else in the game has. Just like there's a reason to farm the Gazer in level 1. And we did this for a specific reason because what we saw in Ultima Online and other games is that people just go to the last boss. There's no reason to go to level 1 or level 2 or level 3 because the best stuff's always at the last boss. But we sort of said, no, that's not how we're going to do our dungeon design. We're going to have it so there's unique, compelling reasons to fight our mini bosses on every single level. And so that's what you see with the Harpy Matriarch here. So does that make sense? Sort of why we did that in terms of dungeon design?
It also makes me want to come back and play through this dungeon.
Yeah, and find out, well, what's on her? What makes her so special? And if you come up here, for those who are familiar with the water elementals in Covetous, you can also fish in our lakes.
Oh, nice.
So we have loot tables specific for dungeons. Our dungeons have an increased skill gain rate. So if you're training in dungeons, it's going to be a boost. And so if you're fishing in dungeons, not only are you getting a boost to fishing in general because you're in a dungeon, but you're also going to get rare loot tables because you're risking yourself being in a dungeon fishing for fish. So we thought we should reward you for that.
That sounds good.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of fishing. I do a lot of it.
Oh, yeah.
Not in real life, even though I live on a nice lake with bass in the lake, but that's a whole different story.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we're big on fishing. We wanted fishing to feel like it mattered. In Ultima Online, I feel like it mattered a lot. Especially with boats and messages in a bottle, SOSs. The fishing, it was probably not perfect, but it definitely felt better than a lot of games that do fishing.
Do you have boats?
We don't have boats yet, but we will have boats with the UO map.
Nice.
So basically, we're doing a complete UO map, and
that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about UO. Even though boats were not hugely functional, they were fun.
They were very fun. And do you remember? Was it Garriott? He actually didn't want Raft to put in houses. He just wanted everyone to have boats.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But Raft did it anyway, which is why there were houses.
I'll have to ask Raft about that next time I see him.
Yeah, but and so that's kind of interesting because to think about Ultima Online with just boats, how different would that have been?
Well, you were able to live out of a boat.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that was the brilliant thing. You just couldn't take too much stuff with you.
Right. And it was so easy for people to get on your boat. I mean, unless you
Right.
locked it correctly, which was kind of janky to lock at first. Do you remember how hard it was to lock the size of boats?
Oh, I remember houses and a whole key thing and everything. And when they finally made it so that it was like bound to you and your key automatically unlocked your door when you went in and out and stuff, that was such a big change.
Oh yeah.
I had my house looted a few times. I mean,
Really?
you would step up to the front door and you'd be double clicking on your key to unlock
Hmm.
your door, and you'd realize somebody who's hidden is placing boxes around you. And
Yeah,
and
I
then
remember that.
then you're like, oh crap, I better either get out of here before I,
Hmm.
whoa, damn, I've unlocked my door. Well, I better go in and try and lock it again.
Right.
And I get killed in the middle of my house,
Uh
and
huh.
then
And he
Moongate
changes
opens up.
locks. Yep.
Well, they never changed locks, but a Moongate opened up, and I remember all of these people pouring in through the
Ooh.
Moongate into my house, and all
Yep.
grabbing as much as they could and going back through the Moongate.
Hmm.
And
So
large
that's
battles ensued.
I'm sure. And that's the part of UO that I don't think you really fondly remember. But
Actually, I do.
oh, really? Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
They couldn't take my house from me,
That's good.
and if you had like one or two containers that were secure that nobody else could get in or something like that,
Uh
that would
huh.
be fine. But the ability to have risk to take losses, not of everything,
Not of
but
everything,
of
right?
losses that hurt,
Yeah.
is the risk that is so much fun. I
Hmm.
actually thought I broke my hand whenever that happened. And this was back in the days of ICQ and everything.
Uh huh.
And
Seven four
and
eight six six one nine.
oh yes, yeah,
I was just I mentioned it for no reason,
yeah.
but
I had, let's see. Gosh, I can't remember my number right now, but
yeah, don't
yes,
worry about it. Yeah.
I used to know it by heart. And but
So-
I had a mouse that had a ball in it at the time, and they kill me and they're looting my house, and I slam my mouse down on the table,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden the top of my hand hurt so bad,
Oh
and I
no.
thought, oh shit, I've just broken my hand. And then I go to use my mouse to try and talk to people to ask them for help to come and help me through ICQ,
Sure.
and realize that my mouse is stuck to my mouse pad because it broke, and it was shards of plastic everywhere, and so then it was a rush to find another mouse which had to be the exact same one because back in those days they
Mhm.
were all serial. And
Yes.
if you
Yes.
plugged in a different type of mouse, it was a different connection and you had to reboot the computer. But I happened to have another mouse that was exactly the same, and I plugged that in and got
Oh
that in
wow.
and it working, and then called for help, and everybody brought dragons and then released them. And,
Nice.
and it started
I
killing everybody.
I remember releasing dragons. That
And
was so
see, that
nasty.
was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It
I
was.
remember that so vividly, even though they stole half of my stuff. You
And it's
know?
funny that you remember it so vividly today. And those are the types of stories that really drove our team to existence on this server because we
Hmm.
want to bring some of that back. Maybe not some of the really, really detrimental stuff, but the nice risk and reward,
Hmm.
the thrill of combat.
Hmm.
I mean, you probably feel this way too. There's not a lot of games that really excite you like that game did. I mean, there may be a few,
That's
but
why I play a lot of Eve,
yeah,
because Eve, there's risk everywhere. You have to stay in a space station if you want to not be killed.
yeah. So I
So,
mean, Eve is actually one of the few probably out there right now that offers that really compelling risk and reward.
and that is what attracted me to Legends of Aria. Even though I'm not a PvPer, I
Uh huh.
like the risk.
Yeah, risk. I mean,
So,
otherwise, why are you playing
and
it? No, if you're
they have installed Trammel now,
yes, they
um,
have. We will never do that.
and
We will never be
so
a Trammel server.
all
So,
right. Well, maybe I'll just end up playing here some more.
well, I hope you do. I hope you like it. I mean, as you can see, this is level 3 Covetous. This is a very, very popular dungeon for farming liches with silver weapons. By the way, we have silver weapons. We have vanquishing. We have all of the things
Mm.
that you would expect from the second age and earlier.
Hmm. Hmm.
In this level, we did something a little different with treasure chests because we wanted stealthers to have something to do in Covetous. And if you want to walk up here and we can open this door and go a little further, you'll probably remember the debris on the floor. Do you remember that? And how you had to like navigate around the debris. So we've
Mm.
done that. We've made it 1-to-1, just like Ultima Online. And if we go in this room, this is the throne room.
Oh,
or,
like
or
I'm gonna die in here. Holy cow!
and there's the Lich King, and he has a very very unique staff that is known as an artifact.
My,
And
what a big
all
staff you have.
right. um, his artifact drop. It's a very special staff. It's staff of the Lich King, as you might imagine.
Hmm.
It's very rare drop. It's a compelling reason to farm him, and most of our mini bosses in Covetous are group content. So you're going to require like 2 or 3 people to take this guy out, and
Hmm.
we'll take a look at the ancient rotting corpse here in a second, and also the ancient Hydra. But it's the same thing I mentioned before. Mini bosses, unique loot. The big difference between Covetous and the other dungeon I'll be showing you is that this is group content. As you can see, this is a lot of monsters in this room, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It'd be
How
pretty
many?
hard
I mean,
pressed.
so is there anybody on the server that is skilled enough that they can solo this room?
Yes, it is possible. You would have to be an enchanted tamer to solo this guy. And it would
Hmm.
not be easy. It would probably take you 45 minutes to do it.
All right.
It
All
is
right.
possible. I haven't mentioned Enchanting to you. That's definitely one of our UO2 systems.
Hmm.
If you hit L on your keyboard, you'll see secondary skills.
Ah.
And so these are
Okay.
things that did not exist in Ultima Online at all.
Hmm.
And Enchanting is one of them. And Enchanting allows you to basically spend millions and millions of gold to improve your character. So it doesn't improve
Ah.
items; it improves your character. And we went with that style of enchantment instead.
Interesting.
WoW and other games really popularized enchanting items, but enchanting someone was actually more prevalent. You just in terms of
Hmm.
lore in older games, you would enchant someone, not something.
Right.
And so that's what we went with. And so people will dump millions and millions to enchant themselves with specific abilities, like the ability to have an additional pet or have a stronger spell or something along those lines. And it doesn't
Hmm.
impact PvP. It's only player verse environment stuff.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah. So we will dive down here to level 5 real quick since it's right over here.
Oh, we actually have stairs for this one. Awesome.
Mhm.
Why don't you
Yeah.
have stairs for the other ones? Is it in the original game? Was it not
It's just
a
1-to-1. It's exactly like Covetous from Ultima Online.
so it wasn't a visual lowering of like going down a level?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, interesting. I guess it's been so long since I played that I'm sure there's a lot that I don't remember.
Yeah, so what we did is we stood up a Serve UO server, and we basically did a 1-to-1 mapping of Covetous. And what you probably
Hmm.
remember that's different about this one is that on level 2, you go outside onto a mountain range, and there were skeletons in that mountain range, and then that would lead you to level 3. We don't have the UO map done yet. That is absolutely going to be what the transitions will be for this dungeon once the UO map is released.
All
But
right.
yeah, let me show you this. This is the Dragon Room, also known as the Lake Room to some folks. And here we have the
Holy
Ancient
cow.
Hydra. This guy usually takes about 4 or 5 people to take down. The most challenging thing about him is the dragons that continuously spawn around him. So you have to manage those
Is,
while you're
is
taking out the Hydra.
is the Hydra here? Is that an actual creature that appears in Legends of Aria, or did you guys create
It
it?
is. It is. This model does exist. I don't think they maybe they have used it, but we're definitely using it.
Yeah.
So in terms of custom assets, I can show you a few of our custom assets. We've got the Ankh. You familiar with that?
Hmm.
Resurrection Ankh. We've got UO Gold in the works. We've got a number of things. We've got our own custom arena. And I could show you all that. We could probably do that on another stream if you want to get into
Right.
that. But yeah, we do our own stuff in Unity as well. But we're using a lot of the base models from Legends of Aria, just for the players that are playing right now. So as we
Hmm.
convert over to the UL map and things, we'll convert to our own assets. Like we really want our liches to look like liches from Ultima Online, the decaying old men that looked almost transparent with staves and cackled at you. Like
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
that's what we want. But we're using the LOA ones for right now.
Right. Okay.
All right. So I am going to pull you, and we're going to go into Destard. Now, are you familiar with Destard?
Well, I mean, 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, I've been through all the dungeons and everything back then. I mean, I played a ton.
Oh, yeah. It's been a
And
long
you know,
time.
I was always in the dungeons running away from Ronald McDonald
Wrong.
and Graybeard and a few other guys who always wanted my head for their front lawn.
I'm sure. I'm sure it's a
So
popular head, right?
yeah, I was on the same server as Ronald McDonald's and stuff. So yeah.
That's funny. I had a guy named Elmer Fudd chasing me, and Ziggy Stardust. I was on Chesapeake from '96 to '01. So,
Yeah, I was Baja.
Baja. Cool. Cool. All right. And so, real quick, Destard. Again, Morian's opened this dungeon not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago. There was a big event where he pulled everyone from the server in, mocked them for a variety of reasons. And of course, the same story repeated itself. They attempted to kill Morians, but in essence, they just ended up making him stronger. Mm-hmm. So let's dive in. So this dungeon is known as the Dragon Dungeon for the most part. You've got drakes, dragons, wyverns, and shadowworm. And something that I wanted to do was make it a fishing dungeon.
All right.
And you'll notice that we've got fish in the water here. We've got a dead fisherman on the ground. We're going to put better loot tables for fishing in this dungeon specifically because Destard has a lot of bodies of water in it from the classic game. And it just kind of felt like it really is a fishing dungeon compared to the others.
Okay.
And you'll notice that our first level of Destard does not look like the classic one. And we did that in order to fit with our level 2 and below not being able to recall out. Because if we had just allowed this to be the first level of the dungeon, people would farm the vast majority of like 88% of the dungeon would be farmable and they would be able to recall out.
All right.
So that's sort of why we made that change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a massive, massive, massive dungeon. I mean, it is humongous. But as you can remember, it has a ton of dragons in it. And it's a soloable dungeon, so you can come here by yourself and be very, very successful. Mm-hmm. We scaled the monsters to really not be too tough, not require large groups of people. And again, we have the mini bosses. And so here is where the ancient Drake spawns. And he's the same deal as all the other mobs. He basically has unique loot that nobody else has in the entire game, not just in the dungeon, in the entire game. So it's a truly unique loot table. And I will show you this real quick. We're going to jump around a little bit because this is such a massive, massive dungeon.
All right.
All right. I'm going to grab you. Okay. All right.
And those water elementals are damn sexy.
Thanks. We spent a lot. we got pretty creative with the assets.
No pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
The assets.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
But
we'll leave that lie right there.
We'll just we'll pretend that didn't get said. So here's a custom asset. I wanted to show it to you because you asked. What custom things have you created? And there you've got the Ankh of Resurrection. So, and this is a classic thing in Destard. This was always here, even when the game first released. I'm pretty sure. Later they had a portal to another dungeon. I think somewhere over here. I think I quit by the time that was added. So I wanted to show you that. So if people are farming in this dungeon and they die, they can go there and they can get resurrected. Okay. Now let me see if I can find... It's just so massive. I will make this a little faster for you. You can probably spend a long time just exploring this dungeon.
Being lost?
I mean, it's that big. It's to scale. So, You can totally get lost in this thing. All right, we'll pop you here. So I wanted to show you our camping. We did something a little different with camping. We have campfires in each level of the
Welcome to
dungeon.
the
And if you
Dragons.
get close to it, you'll see it says you feel the warmth of the roaring campfire. Do you remember in
Oh,
UL how
yeah.
camping didn't really do much? Like you could do a camp and you could secure your campsite and it would
You
let
could
you
like
log
safe
out
log off
immediately.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
safe log out. But that was it.
Hmm.
And there weren't a lot of builds that put many points into it. I remember myself, I put maybe 20 into it just so I could double click the kindling and create a fire and do a safe log out in the wilderness.
Right.
So what we did was a little different. We made it so if you get GM camping, the campfire will actually increase your regeneration rate of your health, your mana, and your stamina significantly. And so if you find a
But
camp
when you're at a campfire.
when you're at a campfire, right?
Yeah.
You can also build tents with our camping. And so if you build a tent, it'll give you a nice bonus to your stats for a short period of time.
Hmm.
And so we kind of went in a different direction with it. We wanted people to use camping in dungeons and in dungeons where they can't recall out of. So you see how that sort of marries together. So
Right.
someone can go into a deep level of a dungeon, have camping skill, and be a lot more effective than someone who doesn't have any camping skill.
Okay.
Okay, and you see the shadow worms here.
Hmm.
They kind of have like a transparency to them, but they're still shadowy.
I'm carrying my X-ray machine with me. Is what it feels like.
And then we've got daemons and our evil mages. These are all classic 1-to-1 UO spawns from Destard. So we tried to stay very, very loyal to the spawns in all of our dungeons. And this is level 4. And over here you'll notice that we've got some pretty cool looking lava.
Hmm.
And for some reason our fire elementals are not very fiery at the moment.
Or are they supposed to be on fire?
Yes, they are.
They do
Like
look
what?
hot already, but
I know. And up here you'll notice bone piles with lots of blood. And here you have the ancient worm that spawns. And this guy is
the ancient
really
treasure.
Yeah. You got treasure back here. You've got treasure chests that you can pick. And this ancient worm, when he does spawn, is pretty nasty. It's going to require at least 2 people to take him down, sometimes three or 4. It just depends on what you are. Like if you're a tamer, you're going to probably have an easier time with PvE content. If you're a
Hmm.
bard, you're probably going to have an easier time. If you're a mage, it's going to be a lot more challenging to take out the ancient worm.
Hmm.
And so that's just sort of how we went with Destard. We wanted it to be more of a solo experience, so you could come in here just by yourself and be successful.
Hmm.
Where Covetous, you go in by yourself, you get to level 2, it starts getting really tricky. You may not be able to even make it to the Lich King by yourself.
Right.
So that's kind of how we went with it.
Okay.
All right. So I will pull us back out. Give me a second. So yeah, you said that you really like fishing. So what kinds
Right.
of things would you like to see? I'm just curious because we've pulled a lot of our community. A lot of the stuff that we put on our server comes from our community. We've have a lot of things that we've added that were not popular that we reverted. So I'm
Mhm.
just kind of curious. What things would you like to see in fishing?
Well,
Just
some of the stuff that I really enjoyed in fishing was stuff that caused other things to happen,
okay,
and like pulling up a treasure map, and then you got
right?
to go out and do that, and the whole treasure map system in
Hmm.
UO, where it escalated through like levels or whatever, was
Exactly.
a lot of fun, and
We have that.
sometimes if you weren't strong enough to do the whole thing, you would just do half of it and leave
We have
because
that too. Yep.
you could that's all you could do. um, but then I don't know, just the thrill of pulling up interesting things.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean,
And
for you, is it mostly I understand it leading to other things like leading to treasure maps. We have treasure maps
Mm-hmm.
here, and they do lead to that. But is it like rare deco items that excite you? Is it rare fish? Just just fish that are different or that are rare that you can mount on your wall? Is it artifacts, trinkets? Is there just things like that, or is there anything else about fishing? Maybe even from other games that you'd like to see in our game?
I, you know, I guess one of the things that I enjoy about fishing is it's a little bit more passive. And
Hmm.
so it's something that you can do in the game while you are doing something else as well, like
Sure.
sitting watching TV or whatnot, and you're just kind of, passively fishing. Um, and in Eve, it might be, which I play a lot of, it might be like,
Hmm.
mining.
Right.
And so I'm collecting resources, which then I can use for other things. In Legends of Aria, I have so much fish, I have no clue what I'm going to do with it all.
Well, I've got a good answer for you because we have used fish for our gardening system. Fish is the main fertilizer for gardening. So
Okay.
fishers can just fish and collect fish and then just put them on the market. People will buy them because it's the
Hmm.
main fertilizer for growing reagents on our server. So if you hit L again, remember the secondary skills. Gardening is one of them.
Okay.
You can grow reagents on our server. So that's a
Hmm.
big draw for gardening. But you can also just grow food in general, and we want
Right.
grown food and reagents to matter. And so we've actually have a concept known as fresh ingredients, and you can use those fresh ingredients in other systems like alchemy and
Hmm.
later cooking, and it'll give you like food buffs or allow you to create potent potions that are even more powerful than a greater cure or a greater heal. And so we're trying to marry systems like that too. And so we made fish the main fertilizer for gardening.
All
But yeah,
right.
I was just kind of curious, what additional things you'd like to see since you said that you liked fishing. So
Yeah, I can't tell you 100% what I like about it, except that I like to go try fishing different places and see what I get.
yeah,
You know.
so you like variety. You like the feeling of, hey, I went someplace new and I got something new. So
Right.
yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
Right.
And
So.
then the other thing to mention about gardening is we have drugs. So you can
Okay.
grow old Toby and you can smoke it, and it
Hmm.
will give you increased intelligence and decreased stamina.
Okay.
And
But
we're
only in your own mind, right?
no, in the game.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so we're introducing a full drug system to the game, and we're going to have a whole variety of different drugs that, if you do too much of, will have a negative impact on your character.
Hmm.
Um, and so basically the rule of if you do it in moderation, then it can have a generally positive impact on you, even in PvP.
Hmm.
And so again, that ties into gardening. It also ties into PvP. So if you get that increased bonus in intelligence, it makes a difference to a mage, obviously.
Hmm.
And so, that's just an example. We also have drinking. So you can drink so much on our server that if you don't die from drinking, if you drink the right amount, I should say, on our server, you can become a drunken master, and it will give you a benefit of increased mana regeneration. But you always have that run the risk of possibly getting alcohol poisoning and dying.
Right.
So so it all comes back to risk and reward, right? That's really the fundamental thing about Ultima Online. And if you're trying to do a UO Reborn or a UO2 server, if you don't have risk and reward, you're not making that game, right? And
Right.
so all of our systems take that into consideration. So anything that we
Hmm.
introduce that is absolutely genuinely new, like drinking, like our drug system, things like that, it has to have a risk and reward component to it. Otherwise, it's in our view not Ultima Online.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
All right.
But yeah, we can
Cool.
pop out here.
Okay. I saw somebody who wanted to shoot us, but he couldn't figure it out. Ran away.
Yeah, he couldn't figure it out. So yeah, I mean, this has been great. It looks like we've almost reached that hour mark. I just, do you have any other questions for me or anything anything in particular you wanted to ask me just about the server or about our vision or our
Well,
direction or anything like that? Because
yeah.
yeah,
So obviously you can buy the game, and then
correct.
you get access to the server here as part of the game.
That's right.
Now, being a community-run server and everything, do you want to know the number one reason why I haven't played on here?
Yes.
That's because it's community-run,
Yeah. Yeah.
and but it's because you guys don't have a monetary investment of income coming in, and I see it as like a business transaction, to where if you guys don't have an income coming in from it, what's to say that it'll be around in a couple of months from now? And I don't want to invest a lot of time in a character that could go away. Um, and so, for someone who has that kind of argument against it or whatnot, what would you say about why they should play on the Legends of Ultima server?
So we're not going anywhere. We hear that a lot. It's a community-run server. They've probably played a lot of private shards, just like we did,
Mm-hmm.
where the admins were abusive or just corrupt and would just ban you for any reason, or they had cash shops and
Mm-hmm.
they drive people towards spending money in the game, and then just ban them for whatever reason. We all came from that world of private shards, community run servers that were corrupt and abusive and things like that. I can tell you that Legends of Ultima it's a nonprofit. It is community run. We have the utmost integrity. We listen to our community. The one thing that we have against us is that we're not official.
Mm-hmm.
And but beyond that, I think that we are really the Ultima Online successor that everyone has been looking for, and
Yeah.
we're not going anywhere. In fact, um, you know, uh, to us this is a platform, but our project is sort of beyond this platform, if need be. It is
Mm.
its own project in and of itself. And so, we love this platform. We support this platform. We believe in this platform. But LOU is an idea, and it's not ever going to die.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. All right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I kind of feel like I need to spend more time here.
I think you should give us a fair shot. And you probably got some of the links that we sent you. We've got a Patreon link just for server costs. I've got that my YouTube, where I explain all of our systems in exhausting detail, which might be interesting to some of your audience. And then we've got our website, and we got our Discord link.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
if you guys are interested, please come talk to us. We're all pretty transparent and open, and our community is just fantastic. We would love to have you, and if you guys decide you want to wait for the UO map, we understand. We hear that a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
know
How
that that's
will
coming pretty soon. So
how will that be affected with people who like have houses and stuff? And
yeah,
if you
so what
switch the map, what happens?
so what we're going to do is we're going to have the banks have no limit, so everyone can put all of their stuff inside the bank. They're going to deed up their homes because we have house deeds here.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we're going to do is when we switch over to the UO map, there's going to be an event with Morian's again. He's going to start something, and he will be the catalyst to the switch. It will be an actual story-driven switch, not just we're restarting. Um, and then we're going to have a token vendor, which will basically allow you to transition your old LOA homes into our UO homes, which we didn't have a chance to look at it this time, but we're
Mm-hmm.
doing our own classic Ultima Online homes with the dark, gritty Ultima Online art. We're not using any of the LOA homes in our
Interesting.
UO map. And
Okay.
next time when we meet, we'll go through the map and we'll go through these homes so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But basically, no one is going to lose their characters, their banks, or their homes. There's going to be a massive land rush when the server opens. And
Oh,
whether you
goodness.
start today or you started 2 years ago when we started the project in 2017, everyone's going to get a fair shot at the same prime locations next to the Brit Graveyard or next to the Brit Moongate. Everyone gets the same chance at it. But I'll just say this. If you want to wait, if you decide that you're going to wait until the UO map releases, you're going to be running over there trying to claim a spot as a young with no skills
Right.
against a guild of probably reds. So I would encourage you, if you want to play this server and you want to have a good spot on the UO map, you should play now for that simple reason, so that you are good enough to compete.
I have people asking for. Now you mentioned all of these different links. I wasn't given anything like that, but
okay,
where can people go to find all of this stuff?
Okay, yeah, they can go. I will just post it right in there. I think I'm in there right now. It looks like Annie is in the chat. She posted the link to the website.
Okay.
Actually,
I'll send that over to UO, or to, I mean, YouTube. YouTube, whatever.
Yeah. And it looks like she's going to post all the stuff for you.
Okay.
But yeah, there's my YouTube. I've done, like, I think the vast majority. I'll post that in there. Stimwalt. I'm super easy to find. Stimwalt. Just Google it, or just go to YouTube and put that name there, and you'll find all the videos. And I do, like, incredibly, I call it Stimwalt story time, because I just go really in depth. I'm very into this, and I go really in depth into all of our systems that we've created. So take a look at the YouTube. Go to the website. The website's going to have everything. It's going to have our Discord. It's going to have the YouTube. It's going to have all of our server rules. It's going to have all of our systems outlined. So.
Okay. Very good. Alrighty then.
All right.
Before we end, will you take me back to Brit Bank?
I will, and I will remove your ability, sir.
Right.
For you shall remain a young. So we'll go back in. We'll leave Wind, and then I will pop you over to Vesper, and then you'll walk into the Moongate, and then you're just going to select Brit, and then I'll remove your invulnerability.
All right.
Just curious, did you have a chance, since you're still young? Did you have a chance to go into our sewers? Did you already do that?
I don't know. I've spent 3 or 4 hours playing in total on the server.
Okay, so probably didn't have time. Yeah.
I probably haven't done much.
All right, so if you just give me 1 second, I'm just going to remove your invuln. Doop. All right, you should now be blue. And if we just walk up to this gate, we'll go back to Britain.
All right.
And you should. I'm just going to walk you. I will escort you to town real quick. It's just right up here. And you probably noticed I'm riding a llama, right?
Yeah. Like, I need one that's purple.
In fact, when you cast Energy Vortex, I did the spell book too. When you cast Energy Vortex, you have a 5% of getting a purple llama.
All right.
Yeah, so that's how nitty gritty we get with this, with the systems here. And I think that once we move to the UL map, you're going to notice a lot of people that were on the fence will join the server, because one of the things we hear from a lot of people is, well, it's a modded LOA, but it's still Celador, right? It's still the Aria map.
Right.
I think once we move to Aria, everything will be very different in everyone's mind. So this is the entrance to the sewers.
Sewers, yes.
And as a young, you can do 4 levels, and you can kill stuff. There's tokens that drop on mobs, so you just keep farming those mobs, and then you'll get tokens. And there's a vendor right inside that you can spend those tokens to get better gear.
Okay.
We recommend that for young players just because we don't want you venturing out. This is one of the UO2 ideas. So if you venture outside of town, you know, the content's a lot harder. So we wanted to give you this little reprieve from
When you say
UO.
UO2 ideas, you're talking about an evolution in UO and not the actual
Correct.
UO2.
Correct. This is
Yeah.
not basically a one-to-one server, right? We did a one-to-one foundation. So a one-to-one foundation to Ultima Online, classic Ultima Online, but we are reinventing, revolutionizing, modernizing the game at the same time. So we
Okay.
view ourselves as the true successor to UO.
Interesting. All right.
Well, all right. Well, thank you so much for this, and I look forward to talking to you next time when we look at the UO homes and the UO map together.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I look forward to that.
All right.
All right.
You take
Thank you
care.
for your time.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Yep. All right. So, just having taken this little tour and seeing some of this stuff and listening to him talk about some of the stuff that they've put in and everything, it makes me want to uproot and come play here. I like a lot of change. I like a lot of things that are different. But at the same time, they're replicating, UO, which I was there all the way back in the beta. And so, I don't know, we might see some shows of me playing here sometime soon. I could see that happening. So of course, if you arrived here and you haven't ever heard of this before, it is based on the game of Legends of Aria, which we have, ! LOA, which you can get from us, and there's no monthly fee. And UO originally there was a monthly fee, but in here there's not. And I look at all this stuff that they've done, and I'm actually very impressed by it because it is much more stuff than I envisioned that they would have been able to do as a community server, and they've put so much time and effort into it. It's pretty incredible. So, all right. So that pretty much this interview and everything is pretty much the show for today. And so you can join us tomorrow. We'll have more Eve, and I think that I will put LOA on the schedule. I'll have to take a look at when, and we'll play around more here on this server. I'd love to go dungeon diving and stuff. I think I have to work on some skills though. I have a brand new character here, and to the person that was asking about whether or not you could start a brand new character here, absolutely. So this is one of the things here is that the game, if it's designed well like UO was, you could hop in at any time. And sure, there's people that have better skills than you when you first start out, but it's not an insurmountable task to catch up. So anyway, that is it for today. So thank you all for joining, and thank you to Stimwalt for that tour and everything. We are going to do another show in the future that will show what they've done so far on the UO map, which has not been released yet. And so when it is, that's going to be pretty interesting. That is such a huge endeavor on modding all of this. It's actually pretty cool. So, all right, everybody, that's it for today. Take care, and I'll see you in game. Cheers.